Hola, hola. My name is Ramon, cosmetic chemist, product developer, lover of sunscreen, especially Korean sunscreens. So here's the deal. Korean skincare is super popular in the US, and with that, we had a massive influx of Korean brands, and import stores would sell Korean sunscreens. And then there was a crackdown on regulations in the US where non-compliant sunscreens could not be sold in the US. So all these international sunscreens, Asian, Australian, European, are technically illegal to sell in the US now, unless you're importing them. And so with that, we saw a bunch of Korean brands launch American formulated sunscreens. And that's what we're talking about today. The Beauty of Joseon Day Dew Sunscreen Broad Spectrum SPF 50. So Beauty of Joseon launched in Sephora, and with that, they launched this sunscreen to kind of coincide with it. We're really excited to talk about it. I just want to disclose right now, this is not an ad. This is not a paid ad. I do work with the brand. I have worked with the brand. I launched a product with the brand, but I'm just genuinely very excited for this sunscreen. Kind of spoiler alert, getting ahead of myself. This is a sunscreen from Sephora, from a Korean brand, less than $20. That's 80-minute water resistant. To me, that's the gaggiest part. So yeah, I think personally in the scheme of, and I've tried a handful of them now, these Korean brands launching sunscreens in the US, this isn't necessarily the best texture because I can think of maybe one, maybe two other sunscreens besides this one that feel even more lightweight or have better finishes. But this is the only one I've seen that is water resistant. And honestly, the texture for this, the innovation behind this is one of my favorites, being very objective. We're gonna get into that. If you have not seen any of my sunscreen reviews before, I do a 6 F's rubric for chemical sunscreens where I talk about the feel, finish, filters, formulation, foundation wear, and fragrance. I always have those timestamped down below, so depending on which part of the video you want to go to, you can always just slide ahead. As always, I'll have products linked down in the description box. Also, before I get crazy, in the comment section, yes, I look a greasy mess right now. I am trying out a different sunscreen than the one I'm talking about in this video, and that's what this glow is giving. And if you're going to ask in the comments, on my lips, I have the Glow Recipe Lip Balm, the one in like the light pink tube. So before I get into the full review, I always like to look at the marketing. So again, this is available on Beauty of Joseon's US website as well as Sephora US. This retails for $18 for 50 mil. Yeah, 50 mil. I think this is one of the most affordable sunscreens at Sephora. No, sorry. I'm gonna get ahead of myself, sorry. I'm very excited for this video. Looking at some of the marketing claims, a skincare first sunscreen formula with a barely there texture that melts in fast, leaves zero white cast, and delivers a fresh, dewy finish. They say it's for all skin types, but specific skin concerns is dryness, loss of firmness and elasticity, and uneven skin tone. The formulation they say is cream. We'll talk about that. And then they highlight specific ingredients, which I'll talk about in the formulation section. They really hype this up to be like, this feels like your favorite moisturizer. The texture and the finish and the effect is going to give very elegant, very pleasant. They say naturally glowy, never greasy. That doesn't pill, doesn't get greasy, doesn't disturb your makeup, and it's water resistant and makeup friendly. So it fits into your routine no matter what's going on any given day. Okay, so getting into the review, starting with feel and finish. Again, Sephora site says this is cream. This is not giving cream. It's giving very, very low viscosity emulsion, like a very thin texture. Not exactly a milk, but like a moisturizing serum texture. You can see when I apply it on my face, like that's where I mean where it's not like a super thick texture. The blend in, quick, seamless, easy, no issue with that. And it feels really lightweight. It really is a super lightweight texture. I agree that it doesn't feel super greasy, super heavy. I don't feel it on my skin. It's a little bit emollient, and I'll get into that when I talk about the formulation part of things. Also, it's called Day Dew. But finish-wise, it gives a glow. It gives a little bit of a luminous finish, but I don't think it's very greasy, and it's not heavy at all on the skin. I have oily skin. I'll put this on. This was actually my beach sunscreen for like the last month. I'll put this on. If I need to be matte, I'll just powder. And I find that that gives me the perfect finish where my skin looks very fresh. I have radiance where I want it, but at no point am I like an oil slick. And also I can confirm this looks incredible on deep skin. I'm gonna have footage here on screen. Dr. Fia is a friend of mine. She's also on Sephora Squad, and she's a dermatology resident, I believe, or she finished her residency already. But this is one sunscreen that she also swears by. She loves it a lot, and you can see on the application, it melts into her skin. She looks so good and gives her such a nice, beautiful glow. So there's one example of application on deeper skin as well. Getting into the filters, again, this is American sunscreen. You got 3% avobenzone, 7% homosalate, 5% octosalate, and 5% octocrylene. What's interesting about this is that it's an SPF 50. They, like all Korean brands, they did a couple third-party tests, one in Korea, one in Europe. What's interesting for the Korean lab, they have an in vivo SPF of above 90, which was crazy. And then the Spanish lab gave it an SPF of above 50, but also gave it a PA4+. So even with the US filters, you're getting SPF 50 broad spectrum protection with at least a UVA PF of 16. So really good protection. Looking at some of the formulation tidbits. So they really advertise hyaluronic acid, niacinamide, and panthenol to support skin moisturization and hydration. Again, they're really pushing this as this is your moisturizer and your sunscreen in one. It's going to give you that moisturizing benefit, support your skin barrier, but keep you protected. Aside from that, other ingredient call outs. Oh, alcohol and fragrance free as well. We have some vitamin E up in there. It's a very simple formulation. Oh, and rice extract. A really simple formulation, and I think that's what the gaggiest part is to me, is that the viscosity for this is really, really low. The texture of this, super lightweight. It's a really elegant application and skin feel for an American Korean sunscreen that's SPF 50, and the 80-minute water resistance is the crazy part for me. I'm saying that like it's like this outlandish concept, but it's just no Korean brand has done this. And I remember ages ago when I was in Seoul with a team, I'm like, water resistance is a desired trait. Like that's something people want in the US. That is something that you need to have on your radar. So I'm excited to have this finally. With these Korean brands that have this global reach, I find they still really try to maintain this quality of Korean elegance, daily wear, very, very lightweight. But I think it's interesting, they're kind of the first brand in the US that actively were like, you know what, the American consumer is wanting this attribute. How do we meld what we are able to do with what they want? And I think they did a really, really good job with this. What other Korean brand is doing that? And that was my main thing about talking about the formulation aspect is you have, for example, Innisfree and Sephora as well. There's this like an SPF, what, 36? Not water resistant, a really nice texture, but it's moisturizing, it's glowy, it can be shiny, but it's not water resistant. And talking about a little bit of, I will forgive in elegance for heavy duty wear is because with sunscreens, we always talk about film formation is a very crucial element of how the formulas work. Interestingly, this is an oil and water emulsion. So like a very standard moisturizer, for example, and the idea is as you spread it, the emulsion breaks, water kind of acts as a volatile to evaporate out, and you're left with the film of the UV filters, the lipid component of the emulsion left on the skin to form that film along with polymers and all that stuff. When it comes to water resistance, you need something that's going to be resistant to water that's left on the skin. And therefore, that's where you get a little bit more of that oily feeling because you need something that's going to be able to resist wear and tear from water exposure. So with a water resistant sunscreen, I'm going to expect a little bit of an emollient or an oiliness or a film on the skin. So in that regard, because this is water resistant, and plus does say day dew, they're not lying to you in any capacity, I'm good with the glow because it's heavy duty wear, and then I can fit everything else around that glow, like powder, certain kind of makeup, etc. So anyways, yeah, really simple formulation, but overall, great texture, great outcome, great finish, great user experience. I'm like so excited and hyped because it's like, oh, my besties, they did that. I'm very, very proud and very, very excited for this launch. So next, getting on to foundation wear. Because it is so lightweight, but it is moisturizing, it preps really nicely for makeup. I've had no issues with this pilling, and I've tried this over different serums, different moisturizers. By itself, that's how I prefer it, but it preps the skin really nicely for makeup, no pilling, and because it's lightweight but not greasy, I don't find that it makes my foundation more greasy any faster than normal. It's also a really nice texture to reapply over foundation because it is lightweight. I use like a little BB cushion. I just have to, again, make sure I powder after it sets down. And then for fragrance, this is fragrance free. Again, alcohol fragrance free. I don't even think this has a smell. It smells like sunscreen, but it's a sunscreen, so I'm not gonna fault it for that. So overall, unless you're very, very sensitive to US chemical filters, you shouldn't have an issue if you have more sensitive skin. Talking about eye sting, I always say I have the most like bionic eyes possible. Very, very few sunscreens affect my eyes. Because this is water resistant and it is more robust in terms of the set down and resistance to moving as a result of that, the likelihood of this running into your eyes and stinging your eyes is more reduced compared to a regular non-water resistant everyday daily wear sunscreen. So all that being said, the new Beauty of Joseon Day Dew Sunscreen Broad Spectrum SPF 50 at Sephora, I think, and this is very personal again, a big, big splash from a Korean brand really coming into a major US retailer. I feel like with Korean brands really coming to the US and trying to get that reach internationally, having one finally do a water resistant sunscreen in a very Korean-esque texture, like again, staying true to who they are with this kind of extra nod to the US market is really exciting. I'm excited to see other brands pursue this as well. And having this be SPF 50, 80-minute water resistant, and less than $20 at Sephora to me is what really is the game changer here. And I do love the brand. I do work with the brand, and I'm trying to be as unbiased in this, but again, I'm just mad hyped about that. But that's the reason why I am so hyped about it. But send us in the comments, have you tried this? What your thoughts on it are? Do you love it as much as I do? And as always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you know when I post more skincare, sunscreen, and beauty-related content on my channel. Give the video a thumbs up, and thanks for watching, guys. Bye.